Good morning. I will be playing a few Hanukkah tunes since tonight is the fifth night. And the first one is probably the least familiar. It's called Ocho Candelicas, which means 8 candles in Ladino, which is an old Spanish um, dialect spoken by Spanish-speaking Jews. And the other ones are more familiar. The second one will be Sevivan, which is another name for dreidel. And the other ones I think you'll know.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Welcome. Thank you for all joining us this morning in person and in Zoom. My name is Laura Nelson. I'm your service associate today. I am a woman that is about 5'7". I'm 56 years old. I have short purple hair. I'm wearing a black and white top, bell-bottom jeans, and brownish red boots. Summit is a liberal religious community bound together by shared principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practices. We aspire to be a religion of love and inclusion. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to Summit and would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org. Do we have any announcements? No? We acknowledge that our fellowship resides on unceded Kumeya'i land. The Kumeya'i have lived on this land for 10,000 years, and it is their home today. We recognize the abusive history of colonization in California and are mindful of our duty to responsibly act from our position of privilege. And if you're willing and able, we'd like you to rise and sing gathering hymn number 42 in the gray hymnal, Morning So Fair to See.
I chose that hymn because I can sing it in Danish. It's one of the few hymns I think there are only two in the entire hymnal that we also have in Denmark. So that was a pleasure just to do that. Before I do the chalice lighting, I want to say I'm very happy to be here. It feels very much like being at home. And I also want to say that, it's the first time I've ever preached from a wheelchair. And I have to tell you, the view is different from down here. Now we'll do the chalice lighting. And it's adapted from a Jewish Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal, not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, the spirit of freedom.
Okay, if you are willing and able, we'd like you to rise and sing our UU hymn.
Good morning. I'm Mary Carter Vale, your Director of Religious Exploration. I'm 5'7" with graying red hair and glasses, and today I'm wearing a black dress with some really pretty patterns on it. So, welcome. I have a special story to share with you today. The title is a wisdom story called A Beacon of Hope, and I have to read you the credit for the story. Written by April Rosario with the help of ChatGPT. And of course, I'm going to add my own flavor in there as well. So tonight is the fifth night of Hanukkah. So tonight, the traditional shamash, the candle that is the lighting candle, will be lit, and you will light all 5 candles and let them burn down tonight if you are observing Hanukkah. So all month long, we've been exploring the practice of presence. And Hanukkah is a really beautiful practice for that because it's a celebration of looking for hope in the darkest times. And the story reflects that. So once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, there lived a young girl named Miriam. The village had seen its share of troubles, but the darkest days had come when a foreign ruler sought to extinguish the light of the villagers' traditions and faith. Many families hid their customs, fearing prosecution. But Miriam's family held tightly to their beliefs, especially during the winter months when the nights were the longest. As Hanukkah approached, Miriam felt a flicker of hope. Each night her grandmother would light a single candle on the menorah, explain the significance of each flame. These candles, she would say, remind us of the miracle that happened long ago when a small band of Maccabees reclaimed their temple and found a tiny jar of oil that lasted for 8 days. It was one night's worth of oil, and the Hanukkah miracle, lasted for 8 nights. Finding my spot in the story. It teaches us that even in the darkest times, hope can shine through. So one evening, as they lit the candles together, Miriam noticed a group of children peering through the window. Their faces filled with curiosity. These were the children from families that had abandoned their traditions. They were too afraid to celebrate. So feeling a surge of courage, Miriam invited them in. "Come inside and join us," she said, her heart pounding. With hesitation, the children stepped into the warm glow of the menorah, and Miriam's grandmother welcomed them in, sharing the story of Hanukkah and how the Maccabees fought for their freedom and how hope can emerge from despair. The children listened with wide eyes as the flames danced, reflecting their growing excitement. Inspired by the stories, the children asked if they could join the celebration. From that day on, the small group of children gathered every evening to light the candles, sing songs, and play dreidel together. With each night, their laughter filled the room, and the flickering flames cast away the shadows of fear and doubt. As the final night of Hanukkah arrived, Miriam felt a deep sense of joy. They lit all 8 candles, the room aglow with light and warmth. The children's voices rose in unison, singing songs of freedom and hope. In that moment, Miriam realized that the message of Hanukkah was more than just a celebration. It was a reminder that even the smallest act of courage could ignite a flame in the hearts of others. Years later, the village thrived. Families celebrated their traditions openly, and the menorah shone brightly in every window during Hanukkah. The light they had kindled together became a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience in the face of darkness. Miriam, now a young woman, looked back at those nights with gratitude. The story of the Maccabees had taken a new meaning for her. She understood that hope isn't just a flicker. It's a fire that can spread, illuminating the lives of everyone around us. And so each and every year as Hanukkah approaches, the villagers would gather, lighting the candles, sharing the message of hope that had transformed their lives. The spirit of the holiday was alive in their hearts as a reminder that Even in the toughest times, the light of hope can guide the way. I love that this story reminds us that miracles can happen in everyday settings. When I was a child, when I was about 5 years old, we lived in an apartment with 3 floors in upstate New York. And I remember my parents found out that my neighbors would celebrate Hanukkah. And my neighbors invited my sister and I to come up and play dreidel. So this is my a little dreidel, and some coins, gelt. They had chocolate coins, which we have in RE. But on the table in the salon, every table has a dreidel, directions on how to play the game, and some gelt. So I encourage you to try it out as well. I loved playing the game as a child, and I love teaching it. Kids usually really enjoy playing it. So hope in the darkest times might come in the form of just a flame. So we are going to go play game day. It's game day in RE, including dreidel. And we will come over to the salon with chocolate coins later for all y'all. So may you find hope in the darkness. And with that, we're going to sing our song and head out back to RE. We have a whole bunch of games to choose from, but we're going to start with the one with chocolate.
Well, you probably know that New Year is upon us, right? And it's a new year with a lot of, well, there's possibilities, and of course there's some anxiety and all kinds of things. It's natural for human beings to mark the time. So I invite you to think about the new year, what it means for you as we do this responsive reading. The 1st of January is another day dawning. The sun rising, as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythm.
Without our calendars to name a certain day as the day of new beginning, separating the old from the new.
So it is, everywhere the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. What shall we do with this great gift of time this year? We are the heart and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. Let us take this step forward onto new ground. Amen. Okay, offering, no? After my sermon or before? Okay, I have it before, so we'll start with the sermon then. It's all right, it's all right. Okay, the title of my sermon you might identify with in many different ways. It's When Life Gets Messy. And some of you out there are old enough to remember the movie and the song, It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. Well, today we could also sing, It's a messy, messy, messy world. Here on the verge of the new year, 2024, the world is once again ravaged by wars. Politics, oh, for heaven's sake, politics, they're more than messy. Messy doesn't do it for that. Chaos reigns, and what my heart needs at this time is some hope and sanity. What can we do when life gets messy? Now, first of all, when I say messy, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of a physical mess, like a kitchen piled high with dirty dishes, sticky pots and pans. Or maybe I think about how I look in the morning with bed hair and no makeup. There are the really big messes too, like microplastic in the oceans. Or maybe words like dirty, filthy, grimy, soiled, mucky, slimy. Or a voice saying, "What a terrible mess you made. Bad girl, you cleaned it up now." Now, all of that may come to mind. But messes also refer to difficult, confusing situations involving other people. Oh, there's the rub. It might be much easier to scrub the kitchen clean. It is rumored that Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of our secular saints, left the Unitarian ministry because he wasn't too fond of having to deal with people. That's a funny line. But another colleague of mine passionately claims that we're doing Emerson a great disfavor. In fact, he was a very good minister and he loved people. My colleagues, just like most people in Unitarian Universalist congregations, seldom agree on everything. And short of calling a seance, I don't think we will find out. I suspect that Emerson, like most people, like you perhaps, had some days when he felt a deep appreciation for other people. And then he had other days when he would much rather shut his study door and pretend not to be at home when people were calling. Dealing with people can be messy sometimes. Life itself is a messy business. Communication, even in best of times, can resemble a difficult puzzle. And remind you of an old movie where the hero and heroine are calling to one another across the canyon. I'm calling you, hoo, 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 hoo. How often do we really hear each other? How often do we listen? I mean, really listen. Not just to the words, but to the feelings, the undertones of what's being said, the hope, the love, the fear hiding behind arguments. In our dance of intimacy, in our dealing with people, communication is often not all it seems to be. Love comes disguised as anger. Fear erupts as half judgment. And we project faces from our past, parents, teachers, or lovers, onto unsuspecting people in the present who can't figure out why you're reacting to them like that. No, we don't do that all the time. And we often do this unknowingly. But when we do, it can sure make a mess of any conversation. People, can't live with them, can't live without them. We're all a mess of contradictions. Starhawk, I don't know if any of you in here know her, a self-proclaimed feminist witch, taught for a while at a Catholic seminary. Go figure that one. And she wrote, I tell you this, we're doing the impossible. We're teaching ourselves how to be human. To become fully human can be hard work. To become fully human can also be our salvation. When I say human here, I don't mean just a definition as in Homo sapiens or upright walking ape with tennis shoes. What I mean when I say human in my native language, Danish, human, menneske, is a high compliment with a meaning that comes very close to the Yiddish word mensch. To be human in that sense means to do no harm, forgive others, have a generous spirit, a big open heart, courage to stand up for others who are weaker than yourselves, follow your conscience, and be able to laugh at yourself easily. The temptation, when the world is too much with us, is to retreat, like Charlie Brown in a Peanuts cartoon. He is walking around looking very depressed and talking to Lucy. Oh, he sighs. I guess I let too many things bother me. I seem to get upset by every little thing I hear. I think I'm going to have to erect some kind of mental fence to keep unpleasant thoughts out of my mind. Lucy turns to him and says, offering her advice, don't make it a picket fence. They are too hard to paint. The Lucys of our world keep us grounded in reality. No one living in this messy country or being part of the global economy can have entirely clean hands, nor really hide behind any kind of fence. Inner walls and fences are dangerous illusions. We are deeply, deeply interconnected. My shoes and dress were made in places where I have no control over the working conditions, and my local phone company used to answer their phone from Bangladesh. Once my phone, an old landline. Most of you still know what landlines are? I wonder sometimes. It was out of service, and the customer service representative was offering many futile suggestions, most of which I had already done. And then he said, a little frustrated, you need to go outside and look. Maybe an animal, a goat perhaps, has chewed on your line. When I assured him I did not have any goats, he suggested that perhaps a monkey might be the real culprit. Maybe he was joking, but he sounded serious. I kind of wished it was a monkey. In a global village, we both know too much and way too little about each other. This does not help human relations. In America, our America, 2024, we are divided to the point where it seems we are living in different realities, different universes even. We are right. They are wrong. We're good. They are evil. Our national mythology is one of limitless possibility, wide open spaces, and of course, heroes and heroines that are pure and without doubts as to the righteousness of their opinion. But real people are not like that. We're a complex mixture. I have yet to find anyone perfect, one way or the other. Have you ever met one? You have, my gosh. That's scary. Why do we even ask that of one another? As I was researching the sermon, I found a book, Messy Spirituality, by Michael Giaconelli. We differ theologically, but he makes a good point from keeping our spirituality messy. He writes that Jesus himself was wild and out of control in his spirituality based upon the customs of the day. And the people Jews chose for his followers, they weren't straight up people. They were people who had serious messes. And Jesus embraced them anyway. What if genuine faith begin with admitting we will never have our act completely together? If you want to find Jesus today, look for him in the midst of burned-out believers, moral misfits, religious incompetence, men and women whose lives are, well, messy. Let me return to the beloved cartoon Peanuts again. Linus walks out of the kitchen, eating a sandwich. He's staring intently at his hands. He says to himself, hands are a fascinating thing. I like my hands. My hands seem to have a lot of character. These hands may one day accomplish marvelous things. Lucy is listening to this, and she stops reading and comes over to him. Linus continues, maybe build a mighty bridge or heal the sick or write soul-stirring novels. These are the hands we may someday change the course of destiny. Lucy looks at his hands and comments, they got jelly on them. In such a way does the universe remind us that our lofty thoughts often collide with daily reality. I am grateful to the Lucys in my life who reminds me that there are messes to clean up here and now before I charge out trying to change the world. What saves us and make long-term relationship possible is the determination to make it work. You stick with it. You don't give up. At a 50th anniversary celebration, you may have heard this, a couple was asked what the secret was to such a long marriage. The wife answered, well, we have considered murder frequently, but divorce never. There's something to be said for that. You have to stay if you want a relationship to work. That's to a friendship and a marriage. Don't expect perfection. For over 32 years, I had a real marriage. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. To leave each other was never an option. Did we find messy spots? Oh, you bet. My husband could never remember birthdays. And I come from a country where birthdays are a big deal. Trust me, it was messy. There were tears and arguments, but we wanted it to work, and we did. Of course, it really helped that we loved each other without reservations. There is no relationship that's not at times messy. You can have a conflict-free relationship, but only if you don't care that much. There's a painting by Magritte where two people are kissing each other, but their faces are completely covered in cloth, so they can't really see each other. They love the illusion, but not each other. If we're brave enough and lucky enough, we get past the illusion. We see each other as we really are. And we love each other, not despite their flaws, but because of it. Life is so messy and so precious. Building a beloved community, as you are doing here in this congregation, is fraught with pitfalls. And you know what? The only way is to stick with it. Assume the best attentions of each other. Perception sometimes is everything. Edwin Friedman tells a fable about a little boy and his parents. The little boy, Tom, seemed really happy and healthy, but he was very quiet. So when he began to draw, his mother was so excited. What was he going to draw? She was going to find out more about him. But then Tom loved to draw pictures of people, but they were always lying down. His mother began to worry about this and told his dad. He asked the boy, I notice you always draw people lying down. Why is that? They also seem to be in pain. Tom answers, because that's how I think of them. Well, by now the parents were really concerned, and even more so as he began to draw people who were dismembered. So they took Tom to a specialist who observed him take dolls apart and also became very worried, especially because the boy was so calm about it. Is there anything you're angry about? He asked Tom. No, said the boy. My parents are nice. The only thing I would ever get angry about is if they did not let me be what I want to be when I grow up. Oh, said the specialist apprehensively. And what do you want to be when you grow up? Tom said happily, a doctor. Perception is indeed sometimes everything. When you are in trouble with a relationship and figuring things out, check your own ideas. Ask the other person. Listen and talk, and do so even when it's hard to do. Believe me, I've had many conversations with a beating heart and an upset stomach. It's not easy, but it's the way to do it. Our congregation and the message of Unitarian Universalism is grounded in a life-affirming love. And we have no requirements for you or anyone else to be perfect, spiritually or any other way. We are imperfect people trying to do the right thing, searching for truth and meaning, coming together in the truly radical hope that with all our differences, we can remain one beloved community. What do we do when life gets messy? We recognize it's a fact of life. On a dock in Juneau, Alaska was written, safety ladder, climb at your own risk. That struck me as a good metaphor, how we really can't make everything safe. We live in a universe where bad things, terrible things, happen to good people. All we can do is lean on our friends, say to ourselves that we will get through this, and be open to whatever blessing we may find. People do disappoint us sometimes, even betray our trust. And then it's tempting to retreat behind a fence like Charlie Brown. But truth is, we can't have joy without sorrow, or any relationship without disappointment. It's not a place we can be in. It's not a place we want to be in. Life without the pain of loss would be heaven. But I'm afraid it's not what any of us would take. I think we really don't want heaven. What we want is a full and worthwhile life, outlined as it is by its limitation. What we want is not a life without sorrow, but a fullness of experience that absorbs sorrow and joy, winters and spring, living and dying. Let us all embrace the glorious messiness of life.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Now, if you're willing and able, would you please rise to sing the hymn? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Auld Lang Syne.
Auld Lang Syne.
Your Sunday morning offering is a gift that provides Summit UU Fellowship the financial resources to help build a better world together. The smallest gift is welcome. For those of you on Zoom, the link can be found in the chat box. Please select the Sunday Plate option to allocate your donation to the appropriate account.
Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel was the sister of the more famous Felix Mendelssohn. Very wonderful composer in her own right. I'll save my story about her for another day, but this is the end of this very long piece of music she's written. You know, imagine you've just been listening to maybe 55 minutes of music, one piece for each month of the year. It's called Das Jahr, which means the year. And this is the Nachspiel, which means basically epilogue in a musical sense. And she uses a chorale from 1588 called Das alte Jahr vergangen ist, which means the old year is past. You know, it gives thanks to God for getting us through the year. And you hear her music, and then you hear this very, very old chorale coming in. Those will be the quiet sections. So listen for the changes.
If you're willing and able, would you please rise so we can sing the closing hymn, 1064 Blue Boat Home, in the teal hymnal?
We will now extinguish the chalice. And this is these closing words from Inuit Shaman Ikanu. The great sea has set me in motion, set me adrift, moving me like a weed in the river. The sky and the strong wind have moved the spirit within me, till I'm carried away, trembling with joy.
Thank you all for being here today. After our closing circle song, we will have a 10-minute break. Then please be seated if you wish to participate in our community gathering. After our community gathering and discussion, you are all invited to go to the salon for refreshments and fellowship.